What if the biggest mystery and one of the most explosive scandals in modern history isn't the names that appear in the files, but the one name that doesn't? Right now, millions of people around the world are staring at the newly released Epstein documents, scrolling through page after page, searching for answers. For years, the public demanded transparency about the powerful figures connected to the late Jeffrey Epstein. For years, rumors, leaks, and speculation filled the internet. And now, after endless pressure, thousands of pages of documents have finally been made public. These files contain flight logs, testimonies, witness statements, and records connected to Epstein's global network, a network that allegedly included billionaires, celebrities, and political leaders. Names, dates, locations, and shocking details stretch across hundreds of pages. Every new page people read feels like opening another door into a dark world that was hidden for decades. But as people carefully scan through the documents, searching for familiar names, something strange appears to be happening. One name, a very powerful and recognizable name, seems to be missing: Barack Obama. The former president of the United States, who led the country from 2009 to 2017, does not appear anywhere in the released Epstein files. No flight log entry. No testimony reference. No meeting record. Nothing that directly links him to Epstein's network in the documents that have been made public so far. And that absence has sparked a massive debate across the internet. Some people see this as clear evidence that Obama had absolutely no connection to Epstein. They argue that after years of investigations, lawsuits, and document releases, if there had been any involvement, it would have surfaced by now. To them, the missing name is simple: there was nothing to find. But others are not so convinced. For skeptics and conspiracy theorists, the absence of Obama's name raises an entirely different question. They wonder whether certain names may have been removed, redacted, or never recorded in the first place. They point to the immense power and influence surrounding people connected to Epstein and ask whether some information could still be hidden from the public. The Epstein case has always been surrounded by mystery. From the suspicious circumstances surrounding Epstein's death in 2019, to the long list of powerful individuals rumored to have crossed paths with him, the story has never felt simple. Every new document release seems to answer one question while creating 5 more. And that's why this moment feels so important. The public is not just reading these files, they are investigating them. Social media, journalists, independent researchers, and everyday people are all combing through the pages, trying to piece together a story that many believe has not yet been fully told. So the real question might not just be who appears in the Epstein files. It might be who doesn't, and why. Because in a scandal built on secrets, power, and influence, sometimes the loudest clue is the silence left behind. Before we talk about the missing names and the questions people are asking today, we need to rewind the story, because the reason this scandal keeps shaking the world is not just about documents or rumors. It's about the dark legacy of one man, Jeffrey Epstein. At first glance, Epstein looked like the definition of power and success. He was a billionaire financier who moved in the same circles as presidents, royalty, celebrities, and global business leaders. His life looked like something out of a movie. Private jets carried him across continents. Lavish mansions in New York City and Palm Beach hosted elite gatherings filled with influential guests. And perhaps most infamous of all was his private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a place that would later become the center of disturbing allegations. From the outside, everything looked glamorous: wealth, influence, connections. But behind the luxurious lifestyle was a nightmare that would eventually horrify the entire world. Investigations later revealed that Epstein was not just a wealthy financier. He was a predator who built a system designed to exploit and traffic young girls. Victims came forward describing manipulation, abuse, and a network that stretched far beyond a single city or country. What seemed like a powerful social circle was, according to many accusations, something far darker. The first major crack in Epstein's empire came in 2008 when he was arrested and charged with crimes involving minors. Many people expected the full weight of the law to fall on him. Instead, something shocking happened. Epstein reached a controversial deal with prosecutors that stunned the public. Rather than facing decades behind bars, he received a sentence of just 13 months in a county jail. Even more unbelievable, he was allowed work release privileges that let him leave jail for large parts of the day. To many observers, it looked less like justice and more like protection. People began asking dangerous questions. How could someone accused of such serious crimes receive such a light sentence? Who had the power to make that happen? And more importantly, why? For years, those questions lingered in the background. The story never completely disappeared, but it also never fully exploded, until 2019. That year, federal authorities arrested Epstein again, this time on new and far more serious trafficking charges. Suddenly the story was back in the global spotlight. Investigators believed they were finally close to exposing the full truth about Epstein's network and the powerful people who may have been connected to it. The world waited. People believed that a trial could finally reveal everything. The names, the connections, the secrets that had been hidden for years. But then, something happened that turned the entire case into one of the most controversial mysteries of modern times. In August 2019, Epstein was found dead in his cell at Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City. The official ruling stated that he died by suicide. Yet almost immediately, doubts spread across the world. Security cameras outside his cell reportedly malfunctioned. Guards who were supposed to monitor him were said to have fallen asleep. Procedures that normally protect high-profile inmates appeared to have failed all at once. For many people, the circumstances felt too strange to accept. The internet erupted with speculation, theories, and outrage. Memes, debates, and investigations flooded social media. A phrase began circulating everywhere, a phrase that captured the suspicion millions of people felt. Epstein didn't kill himself. Whether people believed it literally or used it to express frustration, the message was clear. Many believed Epstein carried secrets about powerful individuals, secrets the world might never hear. And with his death, the biggest question of all remained unanswered. Who else was involved? Fast forward to today, and the story has exploded back into the global spotlight. After years of pressure from journalists, investigators, and the public, courts have finally ordered the release of documents connected to the legal cases surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. For a long time, these records were sealed away, locked inside court archives, inaccessible to the public. Many believe those files contain pieces of a puzzle that could expose the full scope of Epstein's connections. Now thousands of pages have begun to surface. The documents include flight logs from Epstein's private jets, deposition transcripts from legal battles, internal legal correspondence, witness statements, and lists of individuals who were associated with Epstein in different ways. Some names appear because they traveled with him. Others are mentioned in testimonies given by survivors. And some appear simply because they were part of his enormous social circle. But even with those distinctions, the names alone are enough to shock people. This is not a list of ordinary individuals. The documents mention politicians, celebrities, powerful business leaders, and even members of royal families. People who once appeared untouchable, figures who operate at the very top of global power and influence, are suddenly being discussed in connection with one of the most disturbing scandals of the modern era. One of the most talked about elements in these documents is the flight log for Epstein's private plane, which many people came to know by its infamous nickname, the Lolita Express. This aircraft reportedly carried Epstein and his guests across the world, from New York City to Palm Beach and frequently to his private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. According to investigators and court filings, the flight logs recorded the names of passengers who traveled on these trips. For many people now examining the files, those logs have become one of the most important pieces of evidence. Each name, each date, and each destination is being carefully analyzed. But the documents go beyond just travel records. There are also deposition transcripts from lawsuits, where witnesses and survivors describe their experiences and interactions with Epstein and his associates. These testimonies are often emotional and deeply disturbing. Some of them describe how Epstein built a network that allowed him to operate for years without facing serious consequences. As these records continue to emerge, something extraordinary is happening across the internet. Social media has essentially turned into a massive investigative network. On platforms like X and Reddit, millions of users are digging through the documents themselves. People are highlighting names, comparing timelines, and sharing screenshots of pages they believe contain important clues. Journalists are analyzing the documents. Independent researchers are mapping connections. And ordinary people, people who have no official role in the investigation, are reading page after page determined to understand what really happened. It feels, in many ways, like the entire world has turned into one giant detective agency. And the driving force behind all of it is a single demand that keeps getting louder with every new page that appears. Accountability. For years, many believed powerful people escaped scrutiny because of their influence and status. Now that these documents are finally becoming public, millions of people are determined to examine every detail themselves. Because this time they don't want the story to disappear again. Here's where the story takes its most controversial turn. After thousands of pages of documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein began circulating online, people immediately started doing what the internet does best: searching for names. Page after page, Readers combed through flight logs, testimonies, legal transcripts, and correspondence. Some names were expected. Others shocked the public. But amid the flood of revelations, one very prominent name appeared to be completely absent. Barack Obama. The former U.S. president, who led the country from 2009 to 2017, does not appear in the Epstein documents that have been released so far. No record of flights. No testimony mentioning him. No legal correspondence linking him to Epstein's operations. And strangely, this absence has created two completely opposite reactions. On one side, Obama supporters say the situation is actually very simple. To them, the lack of his name in the documents is exactly what it looks like, proof that he had no connection to Epstein or his criminal network. They argue that in a case involving thousands of documents and countless references to powerful individuals, the absence of someone's name should speak for itself. Their argument is straightforward. Not every wealthy or powerful person had ties to Epstein. The world of politics, business, and celebrity is huge. Just because Epstein knew many influential figures does not mean every major leader was connected to him. For those supporters, the missing name isn't suspicious at all. It's simply evidence that Barack Obama was never part of that circle. But on the other side of the debate, skeptics and critics see the situation very differently. For them, the Epstein case has always been surrounded by secrecy, strange coincidences, and unanswered questions. Because of that history, they don't easily accept anything at face value. Instead, they ask a more troubling question. What if some names were never meant to appear in the files at all? These critics point to the fact that many of the documents released in the Epstein case contain heavy redactions, thick black bars covering sentences, paragraphs, and sometimes entire sections of text. In some pages, so much information is hidden that it becomes impossible to know what was originally written. This raises a question that continues to fuel debate online. Could certain names have been removed or redacted before the files were made public? Could political influence or legal pressure have played a role in determining what the public was allowed to see? Some critics believe it's possible. They argue that Epstein's network included individuals with enormous wealth and power, people who might have had the resources to influence legal outcomes or control sensitive information. However, it is important to emphasize a key fact. As of now, there is no verified evidence showing that Barack Obama was ever mentioned in the Epstein documents or that his name was removed from them. No official investigation has confirmed such a claim. But the Epstein scandal is not an ordinary case. It is a story filled with disturbing crimes, powerful connections, sealed records, and unanswered questions. Add to that the mysterious circumstances surrounding Epstein's death in 2019, and it's easy to understand why many people remain deeply suspicious. In a case where trust has already been shattered, the public isn't just reading the documents. They're questioning everything. The release of the documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein is not the end of this story. In many ways, it feels like the beginning of an entirely new chapter, one that could stretch on for years. The thousands of pages that have been made public are only pieces of a much larger puzzle, and people across the world are still trying to fit those pieces together. Investigative journalists are studying every line of the documents, carefully comparing names, dates, and locations. Legal experts are analyzing deposition transcripts and court filings to understand what they might reveal about Epstein's network. And perhaps most powerfully of all, ordinary citizens, people sitting at home with nothing more than a laptop and curiosity, are reading the files themselves. The internet has transformed into something extraordinary. Platforms like X, Reddit, and YouTube are filled with discussions, breakdowns, timelines, and theories. Millions of people are examining the documents as if they were investigators themselves, trying to uncover connections that might have been overlooked. At the same time, the voices of survivors remain at the center of this story. For many of them, the release of these files is not just about curiosity or politics, it's about justice. These individuals have spent years fighting to be heard, describing the abuse they experienced and the system that allowed it to continue for so long. Their fight reminds the world that this case is not simply about powerful names or shocking headlines. It is about real people who were harmed, and their ongoing struggle to ensure that the truth is acknowledged. That is why the demand for accountability continues to grow louder. Many people believe that no one, no matter how wealthy, famous, or politically connected, should be beyond the reach of justice. The Epstein case shattered the illusion that immense power automatically means innocence. It forced the public to confront the uncomfortable possibility that influence and money can sometimes shield individuals from consequences. Now that the documents are finally emerging, the public wants answers. Who knew what was happening? Who participated? Who looked the other way? And who might still be hiding behind the walls of wealth and influence? Among all these questions, one detail continues to spark heated debate: the absence of Barack Obama from the released files. Some people see this as confirmation that he had nothing to do with Epstein's crimes. Others remain skeptical, believing that the story may still contain hidden layers that have yet to be revealed. At this point, the truth is that we simply don't know the full picture. The documents released so far are extensive, but they may not represent the entirety of the evidence connected to Epstein's operations. Investigations continue. Court battles over sealed records are still ongoing, and additional information could surface in the future that reshapes what we think we understand today. History has shown that major scandals rarely reveal all their secrets at once. Sometimes the most important pieces of the story emerge years later, after relentless investigation and pressure from the public. And in this case, the public pressure is stronger than ever. People are no longer satisfied with partial answers or carefully worded statements. They want transparency. They want truth. And most of all, they want accountability for every individual who played a role in Epstein's criminal world. But even as the search for answers continues, there is one reality that cannot be ignored. The full truth about Epstein's network may never be completely known. Some witnesses are gone. Some evidence may never surface. And some secrets may have disappeared forever when Epstein himself died in 2019. Yet the world refuses to let the story fade away. The Epstein case has become a symbol of something larger: a global demand for justice, transparency, and responsibility among the most powerful figures in society. It represents a moment where millions of people decided they would no longer look away. And that is why this story continues to matter. Because the world is watching. And it refuses to forget. So now the question turns to you. What do you think about the missing name in these files? Do you believe the absence of Barack Obama simply means he had no connection to Epstein at all? Or do you think there could still be pieces of this story hidden from the public? Your opinion matters, and this conversation is far from over. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and join the discussion. The more voices that speak up, the harder it becomes for the truth to stay buried. And if this deep dive into one of the most mysterious scandals of our time gave you chills, if it made you question the hidden forces behind power and influence, then make sure you support the channel. Hit the like button, share this video with friends who want to know the truth, and subscribe so you never miss another investigation. Welcome to Black Crown USA, where we explore the stories that powerful people wish would disappear. Because here we ask the questions others are afraid to ask. And remember one thing before you leave: the truth may hide for a while, but it never hides forever. Crown.